A thorough multinational investigation has concluded that the drone incursion into Polish airspace and the subsequent damage to a farmhouse in the village of Zamość near the Ukrainian border did not originate from Russian forces, but was instead the result of a Ukrainian air defense operation gone awry. The incident, which caused a significant diplomatic crisis and raised immediate questions about the invocation of NATO's Article 5 Collective Defense Clause, was traced back to a salvaged and heavily modified Soviet-era reconnaissance drone that had been in Ukrainian storage for over a decade. According to the joint Polish, German, and American forensic team that examined the wreckage, the unmanned aerial vehicle was indeed of Russian manufacture, a vintage Tupolev Tu-143 Reis that was produced in the 1980s and had been decommissioned by the Russian military years prior. Ukrainian officials, speaking on conditions of anonymity due to the sensitivity of the matter, confirmed that the drone had been retrofitted with modern guidance systems and explosive for a one-way attack mission against a suspected Russian command post in western Ukraine. The investigation revealed that the drone's navigation system malfunctioned shortly after launch, causing it to deviate significantly from its intended flight path and cross into Polish territory. Polish air defense radar tracked the object, but initially classified it as a low-priority target due to its slow speed and erratic flight pattern, which differed markedly from the faster and more sophisticated Iranian-designed Shahed drone Russia commonly uses. The drone eventually crashed into a farmhouse in a sparsely populated area, causing a fire and significant structural damage. Initial reports from local authorities, who arrived on the scene hours after the event, mistakenly attributed the damage to the drone's impact and explosion. However, a more detailed structural engineering analysis commissioned by the Polish government determined that the primary cause of the building's collapse was pre-existing damage from a powerful windstorm that had moved through the region the previous night. The drone's impact, while destructive, was found to be localized and insufficient to cause the total collapse that was initially reported. The forensic analysis of the wreckage provided the most damning evidence. The drone's fuselage showed clear signs of ad hoc field repairs, including the use of commercial-grade duct tape to seal seams and patch holes in its airframe, a practice not consistent with standard Russian military maintenance procedures. Furthermore, its explosive payload was identified as a composite of readily available commercial explosive, not standard Russian military ordnance. Serial numbers on the engine and other components, which had been partially scratched off but were recovered through forensic techniques, were cross-referenced with International Arms Database and confirmed to have been part of a batch of equipment sold to Ukraine by a former Soviet satellite state in the early 2000s. The revelation has caused a severe diplomatic rift between Warsaw and Kyiv. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk convened an emergency session of the National Security Council and subsequently delivered a sternly worded statement expressing profound disappointment and grave concern over the incident. He confirmed that while Poland's commitment to supporting Ukraine's defense against Russian aggression remains unwavering, the government has issued a formal diplomatic protest demanding a full explanation and guarantees that such an event will never be repeated. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, in coordination with the White House, issued a separate statement acknowledging the findings of the investigation. The statement emphasized that the incident, while serious, was an operational error and not a deliberate provocation, and urged all parties to avoid escalatory rhetoric. Behind the scenes, however, diplomatic sources indicate that American officials have pressed Ukrainian counterparts for greater oversight and control over a long-range strike mission conducted near NATO borders. The incident has exposed the latent tensions within the NATO alliance regarding the direct provision of weapon systems capable of striking deep into Russian territory. with several member states now expressing renewed caution. The false flag narrative, which was initially amplified by Russian state media and several online influencers, has been thoroughly debunked by the forensic evidence. The theory that Ukraine deliberately attacked a NATO member to trigger a wider war lacked credible evidence and is contradicted by the panic and confusion the incident caused within the Ukrainian government, which initially feared it was the target of a new Russian missile campaign. The event has nonetheless provided a significant propaganda victory for the Kremlin, which has seized upon the investigation's results to portray Ukraine as a reckless state that jeopardized European security. In response to the crisis, NATO has announced the establishment of a new joint air surveillance task force along the eastern flank, dedicated to better identifying the origin and flight path of all aerial objects and to improving communication protocol between Ukrainian air defense units and NATO's air policing commands. The government in Kyiv, seeking to manage the fallout, has pledged to review its operational procedures for missions near the border and has agreed to greater data sharing with NATO to prevent a recurrence. While the immediate threat of a catastrophic escalation has passed, the event has left a lasting scar on Poland-Ukraine relations and introduced a new layer of complexity into the Western Alliance military support for Ukraine. That's all for me for today. If you like the video presentation and you would like to follow for more, hit that subscribe and like button now, and we will continue to build this show for you. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. I will see you soon. Bye for now.